So every week we'll do these sessions. I'll record them. I'll keep you up with your evidence artifacts. I have a schedule for those. I'll keep you up with your class activities. Each week I'll answer questions, and I have a few materials that I'll cover with you every week, and they're over here under the session tabs of practical things. This is a law and finance course. These are the things that will get you fired as an administrator. These are not things that are debatable or amendable or adjustable. Nobody can give you permission to break the law. So I am going to tell you how it works in the real world, having been a principal for a very long period of time, and then a central office person for a very long period of time who supervised principals. I am going to hopefully give you the practical application of these things. And so, as I said, I'll be on with you every Wednesday at 7, except for there'll be no Zoom on Wednesday, October 18th for fall break or November 27th for the Thanksgiving holiday. Other than that, I'll be right here with you. There's my information. Here are your texts. It is important that you get these because we have activities. I have reading in these, and then I won't cover those activities or discussion boards during our sessions. I'll be mindful of your time. I'll just cover my materials and make sure that I keep you on a pacing guide to do your evidence artifacts. The syllabus is here. It has all those things, the course policies. So let's start out with our weekly class schedule. I'll already have that loaded for us here. I hope you can see that. So what I have, so this week we have Introduction to Course and Instructor. I'm going to cover task string, Blackboard, and evidence artifacts. Our tasks this week are looking at master scheduling, supervision, schedule, and duty roster. I will cover those when we look at that. But each week I have what the topic that we're going to be covering, and I have a discussion board for you to do each week that relates, sometimes a couple, that relate to the practical application of what you read that week. For example, locate a copy of your school budget. Does it contain federal, state, and local funds? Is there anything missing? Conduct a facilities walkthrough using an instrument that I designed when I was administrator in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Interview an administrator about employee assistance, compensation plan, and benefits. So the things that I have you do are not going to be just busy work kind of things. They're going to try to get you to know what you don't know, that get you understanding laws and policies and financial things from a practical application that administrators use every day. So this is what we'll be doing from week to week this semester. It has all of your discussion boards and your readings. Obviously, right here on our menu is the discussion board. So you will go here, and you can see I've got a place for you to put your tasks for peer review. There are our tasks for this semester. And here are all your discussion boards. And you just open them right up. Now, I don't expect you to write a book on the discussion boards. They should take you an hour or less. They are quick and easy kinds of things, but matter. They are practical things. Locate a copy of your school emergency crisis plans. Read the school law so that you can assess the plan. One paragraph. Is it comprehensive? What are its strengths and weaknesses? How long did it take for the people at your school to find the plan? Again, I'm not looking for you to write a book here. This is more activities, practical things that will help you down the road when you get your job. So this is the discussion board. The weekly schedule tells you what you're supposed to do on discussion board every week. Your task string this semester, as I just showed you, are all 4 tasks of the OMA, SKIP 1 and 2, and CAP 1, task 1. Now I have that for you right here where it says 603 required evidence artifacts. I have cut that out of the handbook for you and have it right here. What you're supposed to do. It has all the tasks. It has the grading rubric. All that stuff is right here for you. These are the 7 tasks that you will perform this semester for me and your clinical coach. So they're right here under this tab that says required evidence. I've also made you a schedule, a pacing guide to keep you on track. Right here it is. So tonight I'm to cover the OMA with you task. Next week I'll cover task 2 with you. In week 3, you can see what I have for you here, and then you'll start your peer reviews by week 4. Now, I want to speak to peer review. I had an email from one of you, and I won't mention which one, but it was a good email, not a bad thing, that said, can we keep our old teams? Because as you know, I have put teams in where it says under the peer review process, I have added a video that Dr. Chris, that Dr. Neal made, the new process. It basically just shows you that there's a new form. And I'm putting contact information in here. I've got a suggested group of teams right here that looks like this. Teams and email addresses. For each of the sections that are on with me tonight, I've got one of these. It does not bother me if y'all want to regroup into your regular teams. I didn't know if they had collapsed some sections, or if that's going to be a problem, I'll address it. But if y'all want to go back to your old teams, that's fine with me. If not, then use my teams here. Y'all just kind of let me know if you're hung out to dry and don't have anybody, get in touch with me, and we'll put you a team together. But hopefully y'all can figure that out. Again, doesn't bother me if you go back to old teams. As I get contact information, I will post it here on this where it says peer review process. I do have everybody's email address that's in your class right here. When you click on that, it will give you this list like this that has everybody's email on it. If that's not your group, the appropriate group for your class will be under that button. So it should be fairly simple to set your groups up and keep going. Now, the peer review forms, the only real change for you folks is going to be they have simplified the form for you. Here's the form you'll use to do peer reviews right here. This peer review schedule is a sample one. I've made you one. And then here's the policy development, and then some tips. But the main change in peer review this semester is they made you a simpler form, and it's right here. So just use this form. I do not believe that the old form was bad, but this one I believe is better. So there is a copy of the form for you. All of those things are under this peer review tab. The new process video that Dr. Neal did, the new form that you'll use, the emails of everybody, other information like phone numbers as it comes in, I'll post here. And again, if you don't like my teams, use your old teams. That's fine with me. But I do have your pacing guide here, that task stream schedule. And there it is again. So try to stay with this schedule as best you can. And if you do that, you should be fine. All right. Peer review process. Assignment Dropbox. The only thing that's here in the assignment Dropbox are evidence artifacts. I don't do outside assignments other than my discussion board activities. I don't have any other assignments for you to do. So the one that says OMA Task 1, when you have completed it and it's ready, it's done, you put it here. And just put me one review that you did of somebody else for the OMA. If you did more than one, that's fine, but just put me one review there. Same for each of the tasks. Put the completed task, yours, once it's done, and one peer review of one of your peers in there. That's the only assignments that I have for you other than your discussion board assignments. And again, they're practically based. They aren't write War and Peace or read a chapter or write a paper kind of stuff. They are results of things that you did at your school. All right. So that covers all of that. I'll pause and keep my breath. Chris, I know you got a question. Questions for me? None so far?
I have a question.
Yes.
Just for clarification, so the peer reviews, you want the ones we did for other people, or do you want the ones they did for us?
I want one that you did for somebody else.
Okay.
I want your task one that's completed, and I want one that you did for somebody else. Now,
Okay.
I've got one here. When you do, I only requiring you to do 4 Zoom peer reviews. So when you open up this box, it will let you put both a written one and the video link in there as well. It's a good question, Catherine. So when you open that box up, I've got it set that you can do 2 submissions on each of these boxes. You can do one, it'll take it, then you can click on it, and you can do a second submission. So I want your work, one of your reviews of somebody else, again, your work, and then I want your team video of the 4 times that you do peer videos. Again, you will not do a peer review of all 7 tasks. You will only do 4 peer reviews this semester, and I have that on the schedule and tell you when I want you to do those. I'm more concerned about the content than the process. I think the process has been getting in the way, doing too many peer reviews videos, and that takes too much time when we ought to be focused on the content feedback we're giving folks and the quality of the work that we're producing. So I've cut mine down to just 4. If you want to do more than that, that's fine with me, but I'm only requiring 4 actual Zoom peer reviews. You have to review all 7 of your colleagues, but you only have to do 4 reviews. And so if we look at that schedule, you can see continue task 1 to start 2. Task 1, conduct a peer Zoom review of OMA task 1. And you do a Zoom of OMA 3. A Zoom of skip 1 and a Zoom of cap 1. You do 4. And I've got the dates when I want you to have them done in there. The others, you just simply do a written review. And you post your work. You post your work for review in discussion board. That way everybody can see it. And right there, the places for you to post it, it says task 1 for peer review. So it should be fairly simple for folks to get to your work. When you exchange those reviews with them, you can post the reviews back here. On that discussion thread. You know how to do this stuff. I don't have to go through all that with you. All right. Let's look quickly at task stream. Tell me if I've lost you. So for Mels 603 for spring of 17, that's what y'all are this semester. The final OMA goes in here. Now, I've been having a problem. Folks have been coming down here and trying to submit 1 task or 2 tasks of the skip and the cap. Don't do that. You just hold on to those to next semester. The only thing that you submit in task stream is your final OMA for evaluation. Okay? And then your School of Ed dispositions are due this semester. That's a self-assessment. You can do that at any time. Now, as you know, you can go to the internship shell. Let me go back to that. You can go to if you want more help or your clinical coach to help you review your task, you know that you can go back out of our shell into your internship shell, and it's still there, and you should still be in it. And you click on Mels 603 over here to the side, and it tells you what you got to do this semester, and it gives you a place where you can 2 times you can put work in here to your coach and have them help you with it if you want help. So we don't want to use TaskStream for comments or help, because once you submit it, you can't submit it again. So we want to drive all the traffic over to the internship shell. And I'll be honest with you. Part of the reason is I supervise all clinicals, and I can look at Blackboard and I can see the quality and quantity of the help that you're getting. I can't do that in TaskStream. This way I can supervise the people who are helping you, make sure that they're giving you good advice, make sure that you're being served in a timely manner, that you're not waiting weeks for feedback. I can do that in Blackboard. So if you need help outside of your peer reviews, don't hesitate to go to your coach. Drop some work here in your internship shell. Remember, click on Mel 603 for 3, 4, or 5 semester program. That's you, and it will give you an overview of the tasks that you're to do, and give you a box to put it in there to get you some help. You just drop it right in there. If anything is not working, you let me know, because all this stuff is mine. So you make sure you let me know if something's not working. All right, so we know what we're to do. Okay, let's go back to task stream. We know what we're to do this semester. The OMA is to be uploaded. We're to do first 2 tasks to skip, the first of the cap, but we hang on to those. We don't put them in until they're finalized. On your folios and web pages, you continue with your folios and web pages. Competency 17, that's y'all. You know you put 3 rounds of these in here. This semester for you folks, there will be 12 of them required. And that goes back to the OMA, speak to which ones will be required, and I'll cover that in just a few minutes. But make sure you understand, you should have already finished your first round. You did half of them in 601, half in 602. We're now on the second round. We'll do half of them this semester, half next semester, and then the final semester in the summer. When you are in 605, you'll do one final round then. So half of them will be due this semester, or basically 12 of your competencies go into. And of course, you request comments. You can request comments from me and your coach, or just your coach, whichever you prefer, on your competencies. All right. Any other questions on task stream? I'm going to log out before it times me out and makes me stay out for 6 hours. All right. All right. All right. Zoom session 1. That's tonight's topic. I've covered Blackboard. I've covered task stream. Let's look at OMA task 1. All right. Again, this is a law and finance course, but one of the big things in law is the master schedule. It has to be illegal. One of your primary task as an administrator is to create a legal master schedule that works legally in terms of class size, highly qualified teachers, duty-free time for teachers, instructional time, planning time, all of those things. So the first thing you're to do in the first task is to look at the school and its context, internally and externally. This analysis includes organizational structures, management routines, and operations. And it gives you here are the definitions of these things. And it helps us assess the organization, materials and resources, instructions, narrative form, working with the thorough contextual analysis of the school. And that's going to include these things. Now, what that means in real life, I'd like to see a copy of the master schedule. I'd like to see a copy of the duty roster. Duty roster is where teachers are during the day, like lunch duty and bus rider duty, car duty. You know, that stuff they give you at the beginning of the year. And then your supervision schedule, which is for after-school activities. You want to see all of those kinds of things. You'll do a context for your community, your population and those kinds of things. But everything, all your routines in your school, which is your master schedule, you're to present all that information. That's what you will do in task 1. And read this carefully, and then come down here and look at the rubric in terms of what they were asking you for. Analysis of school contacts at the internal and external district, state, and federal levels includes demographic information regarding students and staff, places information with the state and national context, understanding of state, district, and federal policy, laws, and mandate, demonstrates understanding of structures, rules, and procedures. That's master schedule, duty roster, and supervision schedule. Critique of current structures and procedures. Clearly describes the school budgeting process and whether or not the school improvement team is involved in that budgeting process. That's what we're looking for in OMA Task 1. To help you with that, I've given you a little sheet, by the way. Don't say I didn't ever do anything for you. Under Zoom session 1, I have summarized for you legal requirements for planning and instructional time. This will get you started. This is part of what you need to know in 1 here. Does your school operate by these rules? 185 days or 1,025 hours over 9 calendar months. 10 annual vacation days, 10 teacher work days, board designates instructional days. Calendar must include makeup days for instructional time missed. Has policies on when you can take vacation days or annual leave, sick days, and those things. Tells you when you can start and when you can close. Tells you what the duties of classroom teachers are. Is this stuff covered in your staff handbook? I'd like to see your staff handbook. Tells you what the principal's responsibility are. Goes into a lot of these different things. Now, what you notice here, this introduces the North Carolina General Statutes, which we're going to cover next week. If you want to get a jump on those, if you Google NCGS, North Carolina General Statutes 115C, 115C, you'll get all 545 of the general statutes of North Carolina concerning education. 288 is a particular interest. That's the responsibilities of the principal. We'll be covering that this semester. 390, discipline. Exceptional children is also one that's, but these are some hints from the master schedule. Do you have planning time in your master schedule? Look at your school teacher handbook, supervision schedule, duty roster, master schedule. Is it a legal one? What would make it better in the context that there's a hierarchy of how you're supposed to design that schedule? The hierarchy is federal law comes first. All of your special populations programs like exceptional children, you're going to be asked to address those later. Is it there? If you look down the list of tasks, that's going to, look at all 4 of the tasks because you're going to be asked about that stuff later. Do you follow all the state laws in terms of class size, those kinds of things? Local board policies, like teaching reading before lunch in elementary school, best practices and teacher input. But teacher input has to be last. The other 4 must come first. So if we look at the OMA, in task 2, we're going to be looking at instructional capacity, specific references concerned about federal, state, and local compliance matters. We're going to be looking at all of those things in 2, and then we're going to assess the schedule in 3, and then we're going to look at competencies in 4. And so let's look right here. here are the competencies that you will, here are your 21 competencies that you should address in this evidence artifact. Now, I'm not going to designate for you which 12 that you should do. That's kind of up to you which 12 that you think you've addressed by the time that we get through this. If it's the first 12 or if it's a random 12, that's up to you. Which ones that you've addressed during this. And remember, you have to go to your competency folio and put a proof of those in there. But you write a reflection in task 4 of the competencies that you met this semester. Should be at least 12 of them. But I'm going to let you define that. Because you may cover different ones than I would think that you would. And so, if we look at competency analysis, let me see if I can do that right quick. There is no competency analysis for this semester. That's what I'm referring to. I've already shown you that. I closed the task string. It doesn't tell us which 12 you have to do. This semester, you get to pick which 12 you want to do. If that's too general for you, too loosely coupled, then I'll define you 12 if you want me to. But since we're not doing a competency analysis, you get to pick the 12. So read the material on the OMA 1 well. If you need help from your coach or if you need more from me, I'll be glad to. Some of you are my interns, and we're going to talk Sunday. Let's see, Chris is mine, and Nicole, and several of you are my interns, and we will be talking Sunday. And I will be talking more in depth about the OMA on Sunday, about the evidence artifacts. And so, if you're mine, join with me on Sunday, and I'll be glad to answer more questions for you about those. All right, my 30 minutes is up. I don't like to keep you too long. Some nights when I get excited about the content, we might stay a little bit longer. But for tonight, I've kind of overwhelmed you, and I know that, and I'm sorry for that. But if you'll work through this stuff, I have it pretty logically sequenced. I'm always available to answer questions. I've got your weekly schedule. Again, I don't have you any busy work. The discussion board activities are things that you need to know. Most of them are practical things where you go and ask somebody, how does this really work? What's the real deal here? I've had a really good track record of my folks getting jobs, and I want you to be the same. You got in this to get out, number one, and number two, to get a job. I want you to be prepared for that. And so, if you're my intern, we'll talk more on Sunday at 3. And if you need a visit from me this semester, if you're my intern, you let me know. I'd love to be out on the road. I've got a few new ones this semester. I didn't take as many, so I could work with y'all. So I hadn't seen you since the spring. We don't make summer visits, and so I'd love to come and see you if you'd like to have me. So I'll get out and see you as quickly as you'll let me know, and we'll talk more on Sunday. Any questions for the good of the group before we start? Everybody knows that you can make your own groups for peer review, or you can use mine. It's up to you. If there's a problem, you let me know. Chris, if I missed anything?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we have a number for the discussion boards or responding to our reading in the scenarios? Do we have a number of responses we have to give?
No.
Okay.
No. You can respond if you want to. I don't force responses though. It's nice if you read them. Mm-hmm. Taking the time to write something up again. I want you doing practical things and talking with people, and I don't want to just make work for you. If you think that's valuable, go ahead and respond. If not, I see that as something that's just a time burner, and that's not the point of this course. The point of this course is to get you prepared for the job. Good question. Thank you for that.
Dr. Lamb?
Yes.
I just want to know with the competencies, seeing that we have the choice of 12, I'm assuming that 604 will have, this is flexible also with the remaining
it will be.
ones too.
Yeah,
Okay.
it will be flexible in 604. Yeah, these aren't defined, and so we'll be flexible. Let's look. That's a good question, DeWall. Let me look right quick and show you something. Hopefully. All right, so let me get back to where I was here. Task stream timeout on you, and if you leave it open, of course, y'all, I'm guessing, have already figured that out. So you see, DeWall, it's a great question. See, there's no competency analysis this semester or next semester. The next competency analysis you'll have to do is at the end when you've done them all. So it's open which ones you want to do this semester and next semester. As long as you get a whole round done between the two semesters is all that matters. They aren't just defined for you now. They defined them in the first two semesters because you were just learning. You're making a transition now in 603 to be more self-sufficient, more pointed toward the job itself rather than just theoretical learning. This course is the pivotal course. It marks the shift from the learning to the doing and to the practical when you get to 603. And we have it set up this way for a purpose. We kind of force you to do things in the first two semesters to get you in the process. But this one, you're doing more practically based stuff this semester. You're learning about how school really operates.
Okay,
you're seeing behind the curtain this semester. Obviously this is my most favorite course ever. I love this course. I would teach this course for free. Just don't tell the boss that. This is the one that when I supervised principals that made my hair fall out. That's why I have no hair. They didn't know this stuff. And they were always in trouble because they didn't know this stuff. Good people. I'm not talking about, they weren't bad people. But they were always in trouble because they didn't keep up with their head count. And they knew to keep up with their head count in EC, but they didn't bother to do it in Title I. Or they weren't paying attention. They put non-Title I students in a Title I class. Or, they turned the fundraising over to the PTA and didn't know that you could delegate the activity but not the responsibility. And then when the money got gone, they failed to maintain fiscal control. That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. That's what drove me crazy. None of them, when they took a school law course, they thought it was just another textbook course and didn't learn what they needed to know. What I've got for you every semester, as you can see, let me get back out of that. As you can see here, each one of these tabs, I've got things for you. A facilities assessment inventory. If you go to North Carolina General Statute 115C 288, you'll find out that you have to do a monthly fire drill. You all folks already knew that, didn't you? Did you also know that twice a month that you have to do a safety inspection? And if the fire marshal comes, you have to have evidence that you've done a safety inspection twice a month. Here's an inventory to do that safety inspection. Now, here's another little secret. When you get your first assistant principal job, guess which assistant principal has to be the one every month, twice a month, that walks around with the custodian and does this assessment? That will be you. You better learn that now. Because if there's a fire, God forbid, if there's a fire or a problem, and I was the principal of the school that caught on fire, so I know this one myself. I was principal at Oak Hill in Burke County when it caught on fire. You better have some evidence that you've done some safety inspections. Otherwise, they're looking for somebody to blame. And that's what that facilities assessment, your crisis box, it better be under the front counter of your building. And it better have all the stuff in it. You can see the statutes right there. We'll cover those, and I'll link those back to these in terms of what you better do with that 288 statute. You better have your assistant principal, or you'll be the assistant principal, keeping up that crisis box. You'll be the assistant principal when you're the new one, keeping up that, doing those safety inspections twice a month. Now, it's kind of like, supervising the cafeteria. The legal number is 45 to 1. You better have one adult for every 45 kids in the cafeteria. Now, I'm not telling you, I'm not naive. I'm not telling you that that's going to prevent a fight in the cafeteria. What I'm telling you is when the fight occurs and you've got adequate supervision, when you get sued, when a staff member or a kid gets hurt, you won't lose in court. That's a little hard and a little harsh and a little crass and you know, maybe a little pessimistic, but it's just the truth. What I'm going to teach you is things that I can't keep you from getting sued, but hopefully I can keep you from losing. That's the whole idea. So I'm going to cover the practical stuff. I'm going to that emergency plan and crisis box. That's number one. That facilities inventory, because there's laws that go to those, and if you don't follow the law, they'll fry you. You know, there's tort liability now. Tort liability means they can sue the school and sue you personally. You're going to learn that this semester. You got to learn how to protect yourself. Session 3, I'm going to cover court cases and the top 10 legal issues that you'll face out in schools. I'm going to cover the relevant court cases since 54. I will cover those for you and what the ramifications are for a practicing administrator. This isn't just a legal lesson. This is real stuff. This is what this means. This is what the ramifications are for you. The role of the principal, antecedent behaviors, and bullying prevention. This is real stuff. That's fine. Zoom session 4, Zoom session 5. Incident reporting. Your district won't be Charlotte-Mecklenburg, but we'll teach you to look at the code of conduct. We'll look at the issues of arbitrary and capricious. We'll look at incident reporting, all the things that you're going to need to know how to do, and all of the theories and law behind that stuff that you're going to need to know. Cyberbullying statute. Cyberbullying's become big. This one is going to be something that you better become very well versed in because of all the cell phones and electronic media and social media platforms. You better know this one. And so that's the kind of thing that I'm going to cover with you every week. I won't cover your reading. And again, your discussion boards, as you can see, they're practically oriented things. Observe a student due process in school report. What surprised you the most about the process? What students tell me is what they're most surprised about is how long it takes and how many steps you have to take to make sure you protect the rights of the accused and the victims. Written statements and all that stuff. That's what you're going to find out. Cyberbullying, attend an IEP meeting, who's in charge, how are decisions made, what role does the parent play? And this is the kind of things that I have you doing. Interview an administrator concerning human resources practices. How does your district post openings, do job announcement? How does your principal obtain candidates for a job? I worked in 4 districts. One district, you did it yourself. Another one, they sent you the candidates after they'd been vetted, and they sent you the top 3. And I worked in one district where you could ask whatever you wanted. You made your own interview. I worked in others where they had a script. I worked in one where you could offer the job, and I worked in 2 where you had to call back HR and they offered the job. How does it work in your district? Those are the things that's what you need to know. You need to know about fundraising. Did you know that there are statutes about tickets at ball games and putting money in the bank every night, and that you have to watch the PTA? You can't just turn it over to them. All those things are there's actually policies in your district that are written as board policies in your district. You need to know where they are, and you need to find them. Find your school budget. And I've got one case study that I want you to do. It's not a long one. And then look at your policy on harassment. So I've got practical things here for you. I can't give you something practical on harassment because of privacy. This is, again, a theoretical. The only 2 theoreticals you have are things that I can't, because of privacy laws, give you an actual case on those. Everything else, it's an actual. I want you to go out and do it. All right. Next question. Good questions.
Dr. Lamb, what if you're teaching a school in Virginia?
You'll have the same stuff.
Okay.
That's a good question, Ann. I'm glad you asked me that. We've got some South Carolina people now and some Virginia people now. And I've got everything geared to North Carolina, but I should do better than that. I really should. You can help us with that on Virginia. You can find out the Virginia statutes, and we'll look at that. That's a good thing.
Okay.
So yeah, you can look at the Virginia stuff, but it's all fairly similar in terms of how the law works, but the process, the federal stuff, all works the same everywhere. Like for everybody knows the federal programs: Title I, Exceptional Children, EC 504, Limited English Proficient, Gifted, and CTE. Those are all federal programs. Those are the same in every state. And then you have some state requirements. Class size is pretty much the same. Planning time, the number of days might be a little bit different, but yeah, that's a good thing. Now, Ann, in Virginia, you've got this won't be a problem for you because you're in a 5-semester program. But in Virginia, to get your administrator's license, you have to have documented 320 hours on your internship log. We have you do 80 hours a semester, and so you'll be fine because you got 5 semesters. Where we're having a problem is the 3-semester people, they're short 80 hours. And so they're having to do an extra semester of hours somewhere along the way, but you'll be fine. But yeah, that's one of the requirements in Virginia. In North Carolina, it's just 275, but it's 320 in Virginia.
Okay.
So you should be fine on that. That's one of the reasons why we're having you get those signed and uploaded into CashStream now, is because Virginia requires the actual copy of those things, and it's a repository for you. So if you lose it, we have it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's what we do. But that's a good point. If there's anybody from South Carolina, we'll look at yours as well. That's a good point too.
Okay.
So that'll be my homework for next week. I'll start looking at for some Virginia stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. I keep talking to Chris because he's the one that shows up on my screen the most here. We talk a lot anyway, so there he is. So, but I'll talk to all of you. Anything else for the good of the group? I went a little bit over. I'll try to be better next time, but we did 45 minutes. We did well tonight. I appreciate all of you being with me. Do not hesitate to call me or email me if there's something I can do or if we've got a problem. I need to know. So that I can help you and make sure that we don't do it in any other classes. So y'all all have a good week, and I will see some of you on Sunday afternoon that are in my interns. If not, I'll see you next Wednesday. I'm going to go ahead and shut us down now. Have a good week.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.